Hello, my darlings. How are you doing today? Welcome to my channel. My name is Sammy. I am a Live2D artist and rigger and Fae royalty. uh, and today I want to teach you how to cut up your model art so you can have all the layers and all the things that you need to import it into Live2D to be rigged. I hope this helps, and let's get right into it. Alright, so chances are that you already have your model art all, drawn. It's cute, it is here. You're just ready to rig it because you just really want to see your model move. But in case you haven't started drawing your model yet, some things to keep in mind. Canvas size. Don't ever work on anything smaller than 2000 pixels at either side. So just an example, say hello Mia, say hello to her. She's the one we're working with today, and Mia is on a 2000 wide by 5000 tall canvas. But yeah, anything lower than 2000 pixels, when you do a close-in on the character's face, it's gonna look very blurry, and we don't want that, right? So yeah, try to keep it 2000 pixels or bigger, just as a rule of thumb. Second thing, if you can, and I know most drawing software nowadays, I know it has a symmetry tool, use it and abuse it. I mean it. It's gonna save a lot of time, both on drawing and rigging, because we can always, copy and paste the rigging. If you have a couple of like asymmetrical accessories here and there, that's fine. But when you're drawing the character itself, like the face and the eyes, those are usually symmetrical, so you can use it. And try to make sure that you're positioning the symmetry tool right in the middle of the canvas, so when you flip it, it's gonna be like, perfectly symmetrical. You heard all what I said, and you have your cute model art ready to go. There's two techniques that you can use for cutting a model up. There's pros and cons to both of them, and I'll be explaining them right now. Let's see. Well, first and foremost, if you have your model art and it's pristine, it's, the line art is crisp, the colors are exactly how you want them to be, then what I would suggest for you to do is to use the lasso tool technique, which is exactly that. You have your model art all in one layer, and to rig, you need it separated in all those layers. So what you do, you just grab the lasso tool right here and you just go to town. You try to be as accurate as possible, which I'm not being because I'm using a mouse, but you copy and paste it and you have the thing separated into a single layer. I'm not a big fan of that technique, but I know a lot of artists who are, so it is down to preference. As you can see, this one is gonna take a lot of like correcting after you copy and paste, and you have to have a very steady hand. But if you do have your model art like ready to go, it's not a sketch, it's like finished, this is probably the best technique. What you're gonna do after you cut it all up though is, for example, we have the back of the hair here, right? And you're gonna cut it up and it's gonna look like this. This is not gonna be good, because you see, when the character moves its head, this part that's under the bangs here, that is being obscured by the bangs, it's gonna show. So what you're gonna have to do is what we call filling in the void, which is basically that. It's taking these parts that are incomplete, basically painting them in, so when they show, you know, it's not gonna be a void. You can actually have some art to show there. Yeah, that's basically how it's done. Now the second technique is what I usually do, which is you have this sketch drawing. Maybe you put down some colors just so you know what's gonna look like in the end, but it's basically a sketch. It's not finished and you don't want it to be. So what you're gonna do, it's simple, but it's a lot of work, as both of these techniques are. You're just gonna create a new layer on top of it, and you're literally just gonna use this art underneath as a visual guide, and you're just gonna go and paint over it. Just, you know, do the finished art already separated into the layers that you're gonna need. Why I like this one? Just because I feel like it gives me more control on things that are transparent. Like if I want the blush to be transparent, I would much rather have it in a transparent layer at 50% opacity than to cut it up, you see, and have the skin showing up on this cut instead of it being a transparent layer. But again, it's down to preference. In the end, it's not gonna make a lot of difference in the end result, so do what feels better for you. Alright, so you have your technique now. You may be wondering, okay, I know that I have to cut it. Where? That is what I'm gonna answer you now. So that was my sketch, and this is the finished model. Say hello to finished Mia. Hi everyone. So okay, I will just go quickly over how everything is separated, and if you can group them up in groups, that is always good as well, just to keep yourself organized, because these groups, they do import to Live2D and they're just gonna make your life easier, right? So from the top up, the side hairs, see, they both need to be on a layer of their own. I'm gonna separate them later, but you have the right side, and this is also important when you're naming those layers. Please name your layers so you can keep yourself organized. Which side is going to be the right, which side is going to be the left, it's always by the model's perspective. So this side is going to be named side hair right, and this side is going to be named side hair left. So side hair, each one on their layer. Then fringe, I have it in a single layer, and as you can see, I filled in the void here with a shadow, and I only have one layer. Why? Because this type of hair can allow it. I want it to be like very bow cut like, because it is a straight fringe like this. But if you have like more parts on the fringe, please give them, like if I wanted to just separate it here, like please separate them into like clusters like this, you see, so you can have more control over how they move and all that stuff. So if you have like different fringe on your model, yeah, just give a layer to each of them and name them accordingly, like fringe 1, fringe 2, or fringe right and fringe left. Just make sure they're all in their own layers. It's always better to have more layers than less layers, because you can always merge them up if you feel like it. later. Right, if you have any hair accessories, in this case I have ribbons. How are ribbons separated? Usually it's in 4 or 5 parts, so you're gonna have the little knot in one layer, and then this front part in another, this back part in another, and each of the ribbon ends in a separated layer as well. So cut them up as so. Those are separated like that as well. As you can see, if you have animal ears, you are going to need, usually, especially for like cat girl ears, those are the more popular ones, you're gonna need the front part of the ear right here, this part, and then any fluff on the inside also needs a layer, and the back of the ear also needs a layer of its own. If you have human ears, just one layer for the entire thing, it's more than enough. So one layer for the left ear and one layer for the right ear. Then we go to eyebrows. If you have shadow on them, like this one does, separate the shadow, but usually it's just the eyebrows, so one layer for each, one for left, one for right. Now the eyes are the more complicated part because they have a lot of separations, a lot of parts, and they go like this. Lower eyelash, as you can see here, the small little eyelashes on top, or if you have them on the bottom as well, separate them. Then you're gonna have the upper eyelash, just like the lower eyelash. Those are usually on top. After that, you're gonna have this eye white, see? And as you can see, the iris, the eyeshadow that is cast from the upper eyelid, and the highlights of the iris, they are all masked into the eye white. So why is that? Because when you move the iris from left to right, they don't leave this space, as you can see. All right, so you have this eye white, iris, the shadow cast from the upper eyelid if your style needs that, and then upper eyeshadow and lower eyeshadow if you have them. If you don't, that's fine as well. Some styles will have like a side thing right here, like this, and if yours do, it needs a layer of its own as well, so it doesn't interfere in the blinking later. All right, that's the eyes. Next up is the nose. It needs a layer of its own, and then after that is the mouth, which also has a lot of layers, especially if you have lips, like big thick lips. If it's not just the line, you're gonna need, of course, a layer for the upper lip line, which is this one, and you can also draw a lower lip line if the drawing is different. But for this one, I'm just gonna use the same art as the upper lip line for the lower lip line, or when it opens. And just as well, you're gonna have the upper lipstick part and then the lower lipstick part as well, and if your style has it, a lower lip shadow layer as well. And then, not pictured here, but you're gonna have to draw it for when the mouth opens. You're gonna need these parts. So You're gonna need a mouth part that is going to mask everything that's going inside the mouth. And then, as you can see here, a upper teeth, a lower teeth, and a tongue layer. Yeah, all these parts are gonna be masked by this mouth part, where everything inside the mouth goes into it. And then you finally have the actual face part, right here, the face part. And as you can see, it also goes all the way up to the hairline, because you gotta fill in the void when the fringe moves with the physics. It's gonna show a bit of this forehead, so you have to have art for that. It's part of filling in the void. Another thing, if you need it and you have like fringe like this, casting a shadow onto the face, go ahead and put that on a layer of its own. All these shadows, you can use them as multiply, as Live2D can support multiply and add glow layers. So any highlights that you have, if you have them in add mode, add glow, you can import it into Live2D and it will translate fairly well. It's not gonna be too bad, like it's not gonna look too different, in my experience at least. So yeah, that's the head. That is by far the most complicated part, just because of the amount of layers that you need to make the eyes and the mouth work. Those are by far the most like art intensive parts of a model's rig. So yeah, just keep that in mind. From there, it's a bit more simple. So outside of the head, we're gonna have the torso, and that encompasses a neck part. I have it separated here, but you can put any piece of fabric on the neck together with this neck part. And something important to notice here, the neck part needs to be very, very high in when you fill in the void, because when your character moves your face, like the face of the model, the neck's gonna show. So if you think you have enough, just put more in just in case, because you're probably gonna need it. And if you have a shadow casting down from the face like this, go ahead and put that on a layer of its own as well. Some art styles can get away with merging the shadow with the art itself, but I like to have it separated so you can follow the head when it moves from side to side. Just a preference. Alright, so we have the neck. Next up, you're gonna have a layer just for the cleavage, the chest area. And if you have any sort of a window like this, you're gonna do the same thing as we do with the mouth, where you're gonna have a layer with the shape of this window, and then you're gonna draw whatever skin that's gonna show inside and clip it into that with a mask like this, so you can have control of how this is gonna move inside without losing any art. Always make sure to draw a little bit more for those physics, by the way. But yeah, you have the cleavage part, and then you have just the torso part, what that encompasses. This is the torso part, right? You're gonna cut it right where clothes normally cut, which is at the seam, at the arms. Unless you have a different art style where the sleeves cut somewhere else. If you have like a clear cut into like clothes, like ending or separating color or form, you can cut there, as long as it's in this area at the shoulder. That's usually where the cut goes. That's the upper torso part. The lower torso, you're usually gonna have some kind of clothing here, so a skirt. You can just draw the whole skirt like this as one piece. There's no need to separate it, but you do need different layers for any accessories that go on top of it. So the chain here and the shadow of the chains as well, they all have their own layers. The belts, all of these need their own layers. If you have shorts on your character, it's gonna be very similar. The only difference is that you are going to cut it right here where the joint of the leg merges with the hip. That looks terrible, but that's basically how it goes. So you're gonna have this hip part, and you're gonna have the leg part overlapping it like this. Oh my god, this drawing terrible, but that's the gist of it. And you're gonna have the upper torso coming into it like this, just like that. That's basically it. But yeah, for skirts it's usually easier because you don't have to worry about this overlap of the legs with the torso. So moving on from the skirt, from the torso, we have the arms and the legs. So the arms, it's gonna depend on what kind of movement you're gonna have. If you want to have any art of the arm up, doing a wave or any sort of arm position, you are going to want to separate each arm into 3 parts. So you're gonna have it cut here at the torso, but also here at the elbow, and at the arm and hand, where the arm and the hand meet at the wrist. So yeah, 3 parts. If you have baggier clothing and you don't have any arm positions, I would say to just separate it at the wrist and have this big arm part together. You don't need to cut it up. It's gonna depend on how your model looks. So yeah, for this one I just have the whole arm and the hand on a separate layer. Now for the legs, it's pretty straightforward as well. Just like the arms, you're gonna have 1 layer for the thigh. It's gonna cut right here where it meets it at the torso, and you're gonna cut it right under the knee like this, I would say. And then the lower part with a cuff, that's another part, and then the feet, right? Just like the hand, 3 cuts, 1 at each joint. If you do have like socks like this, you can get away with like the arm, just cutting it at the feet, but it's gonna depend on how your model looks. It's a preference in the end, but usually cutting it up where the joints are is best, as it gives you more freedom with the rig and the movements and all that. And finally, after all that, usually it's the back of the hair because it goes behind the torso and the arms. It's usually the last layer. And something important to note here, the back of the head, you want to fill in all the voids, but not only that, if you have like a highlight space in here, if you turn on your head and you move it to the sides, you can make sure that when it moves, it's gonna look good. So you need to take into consideration that this part is going to show, and it's going to become the sides of the head as you move it around. So be sure it looks nice and that the highlights line up, because that is going to be important. And yeah, those are basically all the layers that you're going to need for your model to be riggable. Is that even a word? Riggable. I know it's a lot of layers and it is a lot of work. That is why one of the reasons Live2D models are so expensive, because they are very time consuming. You need a lot of expertise on how to cut them up and, you know, how to do it right. So trial and error is your best friend here, right? If anything that you did does not work when rigging, you can always come back to the PSD file and change it and import it again and, you know, correct your errors. That's an important part of the whole process, and just don't be defeated. You know, just do your best, and I'm sure it's gonna look great. So that's pretty much it, everyone. I mean, if you separated all of them into all those layers, then you're good to go. So yeah, I hope this helped, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop it below in the comments. And I've also made Mia available, her PSD file, so if you learn better by, you know, exploring and touching it and just seeing it for yourself, you can feel free to download her and just, you know, look around. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye, darlings.